And while the issues surrounding mental illness in Oklahoma are certainly complex and often expensive, the alternative of doing nothing is even more costly. Once again, Commissioner White. So faster intervention, does it need to be more intensive intervention as well?
So it depends on the person. Probably the disease it's most like to think about is diabetes. Most people manage their diabetes in the community. They need to see their physician. They need to do the parts that their responsibility, their diet, their exercise. But for some people with diabetes, sometimes their disease becomes acute enough. They get sick enough that they do need a hospitalization. But it's short term, and they go back into the community, re-engage with their outpatient services, continue to raise their families, continue to be involved in the community, continue to hold down a job, all of those things. That's exactly what happens when people have treatment for mental illness and addiction. If we intervene early, most people can maintain their mental illness and addiction in an outpatient setting. Most people hold down jobs, raise families. In fact, we have policymakers, we have heads of companies, we have heads of our communities of faith who are in recovery from mental illness or addiction. But the stories we often hear about are the tragic stories, and people don't realize that if we get people into treatment early, most people don't ever need a lengthy hospital stay. They can maintain their disease in the community as long as they have access to outpatient services. But when it's not available, sometimes people do end up in acute crisis, and they do need that hospital bed that law enforcement needs to be able to get them to very quickly. But we need it there in the community for a short stay and let them go right back to work and right back to their families and back to their outpatient services.
So would you hope that the people that are these success stories, they would tell those stories?
I think that's incredibly important. One of the things, unfortunately, we've seen recently is the tragic death of Robin Williams, which I think affected people in a different way because it made people think about depression slightly differently than they had before. But then we have other stories of people who are amazing leaders or actors or actresses or whatever it is that we might look up to who do lead lives of full recovery. And sometimes the stigma prevents people from telling that story. We talk much more about other diseases that Robin Williams struggled with than we do about his actual depression and addiction. But the fact is that if we could break through that stigma, I think, one, we'd see more people seeking help. We'd see more people sharing their stories, which not only aids in their recovery, but sometimes helps pave the way for someone else to step forward and say that they need help. The same way we used to whisper about cancer, we don't do that anymore. We need to get past the day where we whisper about mental illness or addiction or have these images in our mind that just aren't reality. Mental illness and addiction looks like you, it looks like me, it looks like our friends and our family. It's 1 in 4 Oklahomans. It looks like every single one of us. And the consequences are dire when we don't get treatment, but recovery is amazing when people get access to care.
Commissioner White, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.